Now we're in business. Welcome, friends, enemies, neutrals, kind mothers, to Wake Up and Think Clearly. I haven't woken up yet. I'm not woke. I'm asleep. I'm a sheep.
Hey, leave those poor
I'm a
animals alone. We could be asleep, but we don't
dead.
have to drag in the sheep.
Okay. I'm a shepherd
Hey, maybe,
asleep.
maybe.
I'm asleep at the wheel.
You're a trucker then.
Mm,
You're a trucker then at that point.
I'm a grateful dead. Let the dead bury the dead.
So true. Well, we could be the dead.
Mm, mm. I feel dead because I don't know what's going on. Do you know what's going on? I don't know what's going on.
I know what's going in. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's on the outside, but I know what's
you know
inside.
what's you know what's going in?
So I
What's go-
assume. So I
and
assume
what and what's going out?
that's usually poop. That's usually poop. Poop and pee.
or or when we dream, it's like mental poop when we're dreaming.
It could be. It could be, or it could, or we that it could be like food. Maybe it's a different version of nutrients when we're dreaming. Because you do hear people say the word download. People,
Mm,
I'm downloading information, like almost like uh, we've come to the awareness of making a part of technology, which is a computer.
mhm.
You know,
Yes, it could be that there are different kinds of dreams. There's a downloading kind of dream. There's a pooping kind of dream, and
mm-hmm.
there's Joel Schuster in Toronto kind of dream.
It could be.
Welcome, Joel, and Da Vinci Code. Joel in Toronto.
Good morning,
In
Joel.
Good morning, Domenic.
Good morning, Joel.
How is
welcome,
everybody?
Joel. How is everybody in Toronto? You guys are in Toronto.
Jairo, what the heck is going on with you? You've got an image of two different backgrounds.
Oh, because there's I want to balance it out and have four. See,
I see. Well, now we're all here.
yes, and because you have the majority vote, there's two Torontoans against one Orlandian or
Or,
Floridian.
that's true. That's true. But you have all the vaccines.
Yes, you want to buy some?
Yeah.
Yes, poor Nepal and India, or yeah, the folks in India thought they had it beat, and so they got out in large crowds and they super spread it, and now their hospitals are swamped with sick people.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And in Nepal, it's
Uh-oh.
gonna get worse. They don't have enough vaccines to go around. Oh, Justin Shenryu Williams will be here shortly. And Luis, where's Luis? I'm gonna.
Yeah, I came for the morning lecture.
Okay, I'll be Luis. Yes, the guy in the green. Oh, we're both.
So what have you got a clothesline clip on a microphone stand or something? What am I looking at there?
Yes, this is my microphone right here.
So you got you've got a stand with a microphone clipped with a clothesline clip. Is that what I'm seeing?
Let's see. Yeah, this is a tripod.
Yeah, camera tripod, and you got a microphone clipped onto it with a clothespin.
And I screwed on a microphone to it. A a Samsung microphone.
Oh, neat, neat.
Advertising.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Maybe I'll
no,
get
it's not. It's not a clip. That's the microphone itself. At this angle, it looked like it was a close clip.
Oh,
Oh, that's the clip. I got it. All right.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah. Now I can see.
I screwed a piece of cardboard on here, so because the hole's bigger than the screw.
Very inventive.
Oh, now I can hook it on to my shirt, and then it sounds really professional. Maybe.
It does. It does sound professional. If it didn't look like it was homemade, you wouldn't know the difference. And who is that character on your T-shirt? Smiling, my favorite. Smiling's my favorite. Who is that? It looks familiar, but isn't he a gremlin or something in the Santa Claus story?
Yes, yeah, I went into Kohl's store to return and a thing that Amazon. I ordered something and it didn't fit on my car, so I had to buy the part in a parts store, a local parts store, and so I sent back the Amazon part, a part for my car, and they said you could send it back at Kohl's store.
Oh, really?
KOHLS or something.
Yeah. I know them well.
Oh, and so I went there and then I said, oh, I'll look for a green shirt for my, because if you have a green background, then you can put a picture. And so, oh, look, welcome friends, welcome Mike in Panama
Hey.
City.
Yeah. Good morning.
Oh,
Good
it's
morning.
it's the other Mike. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Oh, now the Americans have advantage. They're
Yeah.
3-2.
It's 3 Americans to 2 Canadians.
Oh boy.
Oh,
we were gonna refight the War of 1812 because we thought we had Jairo outmanned, but now that you've turned up, Mike, we're gonna have to be more cautious.
I only count as a half.
Why?
I'm kidding. What part of
Looks like-
Canada are you from?
Toronto.
Okay. So do you and Domenic know each other then? Are you neighbors?
We're neighbors online.
Okay.
But Domenic lives on the west side, and Vinci lives on the east side.
No,
The wrong side of the
not so
track.
much. We're not too far apart, I don't think. Where are you, Domenic? You're in Woodbridge?
Dufferin and Finch area,
Oh yeah, we're close. Yeah.
near the Allen.
Yeah. All right. Dufferin and Finch. So we are very close.
Oh, maybe you could have a physical meetup.
Yeah, we might if I ever get a vaccine. I keep getting these emails. The vaccine is waiting for you. Sign up for an appointment. When I go to sign up for the appointment, they say too late. That's actually why I got up early this morning. I thought maybe they sent me another early morning email, but no luck.
I've been fully vaccinated. Plus I
Plus
had natural immunity because in January I recovered from COVID-19.
Yeah, you've got all the immunity one
Morning.
could hope for.
I have a heart attack from the vaccine because some folks say you're gonna die. You got vaccine, you're a fool, you're gonna die. Well, yeah, eventually we all are gonna die.
That's right.
Yes, I have a friend in Peru that says you're gonna die. You're an idiot, you're gonna die. Yes. Yes. I shouldn't laugh. I might die tomorrow
We all might die tomorrow.
or today.
Right.
Well, it looks like the weather's beautiful down there in Florida. You're out walking around at 7 o'clock in the morning without a shirt on.
It's 6 for him.
Why?
Yeah, it's even earlier here. I'm
He's on
Central
a-
Time.
He's in a
Oh,
different.
really?
time
You
zone.
mean Florida? I didn't know Florida had 2 time zones.
Yes,
The
it's
Panhandle, about what, maybe 50 miles west of Tallahassee, starts a Western time or East Central time.
Oh, I didn't know that. Isn't that interesting? I've been going to Florida for 6 winters now, and I never ran into that.
Mm.
Where do you
No.
go?
I have been going to Naples.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a great gig for me. I made friends with a guy down there, and I rented a room in his house for 6 years.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah, but he sold the house and he's moved to St. Augustine, and they don't have a big enough house.
Mm. So he's not your friend anymore.
You know, he's still my friend. He just doesn't have a room for me to rent.
But you're less friendly with him now.
Well, no, I still chat with his wife. Is a real champion of Vinci. She's the Florida state champion. She's a tough competitor. Tracy's her name.
Tracy, she's ranked. She's got 10,000 points.
10 in Florida, but they're only Florida points. The Texas people don't accept them because she doesn't carry a gun.
Mike, do you carry a gun?
Sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
is it? Florida's called the gunshine state.
You know, it's funny. I've heard there's like 21 states that have passed constitutional carry, and Florida's not one of them. I was surprised.
What is?
Recently, what does that mean?
Yeah, what is a constitutional carry?
So for the longest time, I think Vermont was the only state that actually did constitutional carry. But essentially, when a state says, okay, you know, if you pay the money and do the background check, we can give you a license to carry a gun, either concealed or open. Some people looked back at the Constitution and said, this is ridiculous. I have a federal right to do this. So the state's kind of infringing on my constitutional right.
Right.
So some states have agreed with that and said, all right, you know what? We don't need to get in the middle of a licensing process. We're going to acknowledge the Second Amendment and do away with these state level permits. And so
Wow.
if a state allows for constitutional carry, it means you don't need a permit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Wow.
How many
Yeah.
states? How many
Vermont.
states?
21.
Wow.
Yeah, just
Vermont.
last month, Texas did it, which I thought they would have been ahead too. But there's a lot of money to be made in issuing permits.
Hmm.
But
Oh,
sometimes maybe pays
but
for some administration.
then if there's a constitutional carry in a state, that means anybody can carry a gun and nobody knows about it.
Yes.
I'm afraid to go to Vermont and Texas.
And
Well,
21
you
other
shouldn't be.
states.
Because if you think about it, the people with guns that you got to worry about are the criminals, and they don't care what the law says, right?
Yeah.
So law-abiding people are the only one whose situation has changed through that.
Mm. Oh, but then people that are next door neighbors to Vermont, they can go to Vermont and get their gun there, couldn't they? And then come back to their state and kill people.
I think there's still rules on buying a gun that applies across all states. To get a gun, you'll have to go through a background check, but there are laws against maintaining a database of who bought what.
There's a law against that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to keep a database of your people's gun ownership.
What? Then how
Yeah.
do the police check whose gun did this belong to originally, like in a crime scene or
Actually, let me correct myself. It's against the law in Florida. Florida has a law against keeping that, but I think the federal government does maintain a database.
Wow.
Yeah, Big Brother's alive and well. I just had to get my picture taken so that I could come on and off the bases using facial recognition.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they're going to know Any facial recognition camera is going to have my details. So that's exciting.
What if you grow a mustache and a beard? You have to retake the picture.
I'm just going to wear my mask for the rest of my life. Man, it's a beautiful day. You want to see the beach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I bet there's some fish right at that break right there.
Really?
Yeah, this is a good day for fishing. The way the waves are rolling like that, what happens is there's little sandbars what that water's going over that makes the wave, and usually there's like crabs or sand fleas or like something that bigger fish like to eat hanging around that sandbar, and when the wave comes over, it creates a little bit of chaos to where they get disoriented sometimes, and that's where the big fish take advantage and come in and swoop in and scoop them up. So if you can put your bait right there, you're basically going right where the feeding spot is.
Neat.
Mike, do you know how the Constitution starts? Do you have it memorized?
I don't have it memorized, but you talking about the Bill of Rights
or the Constitution?
We the people.
Yeah.
Is it we the people? Or
isn't that the Bill of Rights?
Isn't that the
We the people.
Declaration of Independence?
Or I'm sorry. Boy, this is embarrassing. I'm American. I should know this, but I think the Canadians are going to have to tell us what it says.
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Yes, everything that was written there was nothing to do with the citizens. Prosperity means bloodline. We the people is actually not the citizens of the nations. So when military men are allowed to bear arms, they can only bear arms for those people. When it was 13 states, those families got together. That's why they say we the people. That has nothing to do with the American citizens. They have no rights under that Constitution. It's delusional on Americans, let alone Canadians, to think otherwise. Prosperity just means bloodlines. That's all that means. So when you guys read "We the People," they're not talking about you. You think otherwise, you're playing a big joke on yourself. Those were 13 families that formed, and they said "We the People." So when people back in the days were slaves, citizens, they were only able to bear arms if they actually worked for one of the public establishments. So for example, Mike works for a public establishment, the military.
No.
Now, if your parents told you otherwise, they failed you miserably.
No, they told me they told me it was we. That included me, but no,
Nope.
and that doesn't include me.
Nope, you're not the people. You're not the people.
People.
No, it's a game.
A legal interpretation. I mean, I don't doubt that that's how it started, but a court of law today would probably not interpret it that way.
If you want to see the United States, Mike, you actually have to go to Washington, D.C. All the rest of them are just colonies outside of it. That's how it works. That's their game. Now, I don't agree with it, but regardless if I agree or disagree with it, that's their game. That's how it was written. It's never changed. So when people talk about rights, they're not talking about you. When I hear prime minister, dictator, whatever, and they read from a script saying we're here to represent the people, I'm not talking about you. We have citizenships, we have passports, we have birth certificates. That's why we have the terminology passport. You're allowed to pass from one port to another. Once you're in this realm called the physical realm, you have to have a citizenship or a birth certificate because you live in a vessel. That's why we have many things like water ships. We have a lot of things, terminology with ships. So until people understand that, they're not going to understand. And the Americans, the citizens of that nation, have no rights whatsoever to that Constitution. That's why most of the all presidents actually have bloodlines. That's why it says secure blessings, liberty to ourselves. They weren't talking about you, and to our prosperity. People have to actually do research. That's the game that's been played. Every military guy only works for the corporation. America's a corporation now. Same as the Queen, corporation. The Pope is a corporation. So that's why I put down we the people. You got to understand who the people are. It's not you.
That's pretty
So
deep. Well, what a game of charades we're playing, because you know
Yes.
there's a lot of arguments that you know occupy a lot of you know resources
Mhm.
you know used in the Constitution.
Mhm.
And you know, I don't know, through my experience, we purposefully do limit. Um, we place limits to protect the unity of the union.
Mhm.
So I don't know. That leaves me with the thought that you know the states do matter. I don't. I know a guy who got offended over, I guess, some of this eradication of the Confederate flag,
Mhm.
and you know, with the, and this might be good for you, Dominic, because you seem to study history and details. But he was saying that that war had nothing to do with slavery; that it was about uh, states' rights
Yep.
versus federal rights.
Mhm.
Would you agree
Always.
with that?
Yep. Even the same with World War II. The Germans actually won the war. They used to do old plots where France that used to fight England. England actually won the war, but they said, listen, you keep your flags up there to keep the people, the citizens of your nations at bay. That's why they used to invent like pirate flags. So the Confederate flag, it's just a pirate flag. That's all it is. It's another way of playing a shell game. Everybody's looking over there. Those guys robbing a bank, but meanwhile, they're robbing the main bank over there. So people just don't realize that. So the Germans have won the war a long time ago. That's why basically they've had a queen as a German. They've had the Pope before as a German. That's why the Rothschilds are Germans. So they kept the nations happy. But during all of that, they reformulated the United Nation. This is why back in World War II, they weren't really after the Jews. Those were the Jews that were supposed to come back to the made tribe of Israel, but they actually went after the Tsar's family because they didn't agree with what they were doing, because the Tsar's family had their own gig. So they wiped out 30 million Russians, and they used the Americans and the Germans, citizens, to do the job. That's the game. So when people work for military, Federal Reserve pays for all the militaries throughout the world, and they're there just to serve and protect their corporation interest. So to think the empire, in this case America, has nothing to do with you, Mike, or Jay. That's all you guys. We've never actually lived in a time of dynasties. Now that's something I would actually admire. The empire always collapses. So in this particular case, America since 2005 is valued at 9 cents to the dollar, has crumbled. It's already collapsed. You know, if you factor in pensions with America, you're over $300 trillion in the hole, because they just print the money. How would you convince people to go in the military to fight another human being? You give them pensions, you give them medical care and all that. So you have a short lifetime of just, you know, fiddling one thumb. Not to say it's right or wrong, Mike, but that's what all militaries are set up. So unless people understand the Constitution and realize that you're in some sort of shell game, they're never going to realize. That's why when I hear people, it's like when people protest Black Lives Matter. I've never seen a human being that's black. That's checkerboard game. We're neither black nor white. And that's just the elites to understand. Are they still stupid? Yes, they are. So, but anyway, you did ask something, and I went on. Sorry about that. They asked the flag is that's just what it is. It's a flag. It's a false flag. You know, Trump was even though he's reading from a script. You know, he's not that smart. He's reading from a script. He's actually telling people. You know, it's a false flag. It was never designed. You know, America, the only reason why they're surviving is because they hold the rest of the world hostage, because they have to exchange everything, oil, with American currency. And it's a valueless currency right now. Well, it always has been. So,
So what
So
do
what
we
would be your financial? How do you protect yourself against valueless currencies? What do you have a strategy that you recommend?
well, the strategy, if there is, if it has to be more on a collective, which right now money has a hold of, would be your energy. You can have all the land in the world, but if you don't have the natural resources, which is human energy, it's a valueless. The reason why gold is so high now is because they're basing it on a currency that's valueless. Bitcoin will be no different. They're basing Bitcoin on the American currency. It's valueless. Fuck it, they can do rice if they wanted to. It always has to be based on what it's valued. Since 1933, they removed the gold. So the guys that actually had all the gold no longer had to be accountable for it. That's why since 1932, the American currency is useless. They're riding on a dream. As long as they keep the citizens of all nations asleep, that's the game. So your energy is probably the most valuable thing you're going to have, Mike. whether it's your energy in a physical sense, your mental, your emotions. You know what I mean? And that's what you can barter with other people. The elites barter all the time. That's why it's called free trade. You know, it's not because in Canada we do free trade with America. No, the elites do that. Me and you still have to pay a percentage every time we use their piece of paper. That's why it's called taxes. You know, so
Sales tax, maybe.
what's that, Jay? Sorry, Jay, what's that?
Sales tax.
No, the tax is on the piece of paper that you're actually using.
Huh?
You're using somebody else's piece of paper. That's not your money. You've exchanged your energy for something valueless, meaning that the piece of paper can only do so much. An apple has more value than a piece of paper does, because you can either feed an animal, you can feed me, Mike, you could bring it back to the tree. The only reason that piece of paper is afloat is because you have to basically condition the mind to think that it has value. It's like looking at you've been on a desert for so long and all of a sudden you see the mirage of water. It's delusional at best. And that's the game.
One time it was salt. Salt
Yes.
was the exchange or the standard. It was kind of rare.
But it had value.
Europe, when there wasn't much salt and they needed it to preserve food. Maybe that was in the 1500s or
Well, for 700 years, England used to use, way back when, they just don't always talk about in history, they used to use twigs. So the king would snap off a twig and give it to you.
We're sorry, our store is presently closed.
What are we buying? What are we buying? Sorry, Mike, I went on there. My apologies.
What do you think, Joel?
Using our
Sorry, I'm trying to get my vaccine here.
If you are calling from a physician's office,
Can you hear that?
for all other policy inquiries, press 3.
You can register online to join our waitlist or find and contact a location with vaccine stock at shoppersdrugmart.ca.
So Domenic, did you see the flag that the United States embassies are flying around the world?
Please stay on the line.
No, how does that look like, Mike, by the way?
Message again. Press
They've been flying Black Lives Matter flags in front of the U.S. embassies around in different countries.
Well,
what's that a sign of?
That's a charade too. It's like when you look at the gay parade flag, that's upside down of the chakras, or you being in the military, when you go into a court system and they actually have gold rims, gold trim around the flag, that means you're in martial law. So whatever that judge does, he can actually right then and there get you to be executed. So those are those little symbols. It's like watching Carol Burnett, where she used to do her twigging of the ear. Those are symbols and signs to show other members, this is where you're at. The rest of us are just either uninformed or choose not to be informed of the game that's being played upon us. It's like when you go into any court system, if you don't acknowledge your name, they can't do nothing to you. So, because you're your own sovereign being. I find it interesting when people say sovereign citizen. No, you're not a sovereign citizen. You're either a sovereign being, you're your own island to yourself. You know, you're always in here, you're not out there. So, and they understand that. It's like even the vaccines, you can't patent, and they know this, they can't patent nature. There's no patent on those vaccines when it comes to nature. So that means that it has to be something done in the lab. So they understand the rules. Humans just don't understand the rules most times than not. So it's like I joke with people all the time, how many vaccines are you going to have to take before you realize who's responsible for your health? No offense, Joe, but yeah.
I was just thinking, you know, the representation of our country, you know, an official representation of our country in overseas, flying that flag, a flag that, you know, probably some of the most core components are anti-police and anti-family. It's got to be an indicator of something. I don't know. It concerns me, but I don't know what to make of it.
It's a distraction, Mike, and I'll tell you why. The country that you should be thinking about is the vessel you're in. That's your country. That's your kingdom right there. Anything outside of that, it's always up for debate. So when you're going to another person's country, that's why we have like the old terminology at arm length, 18 inches. That's your boundaries. That's why when people become very abusive, alcoholic, they lose their sense of boundaries. That's why they're too close to you, because they've forgotten their energy boundary. So to go to another country and invade it, that's like you going to me and you're sitting too close to me. You're invading my space. So that's the illusion. Everybody thinks it's a material world, but it's actually a spiritual world. The material is very linear. The spiritual is things like when we use thoughts, emotions, when we talk with language. That's spiritual. So until people realize that, they're caught up in the evil world. Evil just means material. That's all that means. So anytime you work for the military, you can't be a Christian if you're holding a gun. Because you're basically thinking about harming another human being. Now, when somebody says do no harm to anybody, that includes you too. If you become a diabetic or you have a heart attack, what have you done to fail yourself? So now all that other stuff outside is just a game, and they know it. So when you vote for somebody, they already know they got you in the web. So you take a vaccine, you already know, they already know you're already in the web. The spider's already looking at you, no matter which one you're going to get caught on.
What do you think, Vinci?
I think there's a wait list any place you want to go to get an AstraZeneca vaccine. Look at this.
Is that the one you're going to get?
Yeah, I got the first one, so I have to get the same one for the second one. And every single drugstore doesn't have any available.
Wow.
Hey, Mike, you've been in the military, so you've heard the terminology chemical warfare, right?
Yes.
When the Jews were actually going into a warehouse, most of them, if not some of them, most of them either thought they were going to get a shower, but some of them just got exhausted and they realized, it's just time for me to die. Chemical warfare and vaccine are the very same thing.
We're going to die?
No, you're already going to die. It's not about dying. The people that understand, we live, our religion right now, number one religion is commerce. They're going to make money off of cancer. They're going to make money off of swabs. They're going to make money off of vaccines. They're going to make money off all the body bags they're going to need, because they understand they're going to introduce another frequency that they did like in swine flu, where they introduced radio frequency. They're going to introduce Wi-Fi. The reason why we've been having so much cancer in our age is because they introduced electricity. This is all energy that they've introduced. We forget we're an energy being. So when they start turning on Wi-Fi 6 and 7, people's DNA, their molecules, it's like looking at them. It's like getting foods from a microwave. It's not the most healthiest thing. And then we'll go into disease mode. It's not just the physical that gets into disease. That's just the back end. It's usually the other energies that get affected by it. So taking a vaccine is like when children take a vaccine at a very young age. It breaks down your immune system. Vaccines are like vitamins. They're only there temporarily, but you naturally have to heal your own body. How you sleep, how you eat, how you think, how you feel. So everybody's voluntarily taking a vaccine, no different than they voluntarily took on a mask, but they don't understand all its side effects. Because people still think they think they're in the cause and effects realm. No, we're in the effect and side effect realm. We don't know where all the causes come from. You don't know where language comes from. You don't know where thoughts come from. You use them, but it doesn't mean you know where they're coming from.
Joe, why is Canada only getting AstraZeneca? It's a next door neighbor.
It's not that we're only getting AstraZeneca, it's that we had given out 1 million doses before they figured out that, one in however many thousand get this thrombosis. Mostly it's women. And even though I self-identify as no gender in particular, or maybe multiple genders, or maybe genderless, whatever that whole gender thing is all about, I don't understand. I just call myself a person, but maybe I'm an XYZ, LBG, BLM, whatever kind of person I am. So I was one of the ones that got those 1 million AstraZenecas. So now I have to get a second AstraZeneca because it's like poker. It's like vaccine poker. And I'm looking for a pair. So otherwise I'm going to be left with 2 different ones. I won't be able to get my pair. I'm looking for a pair of AstraZenecas. The dealer dealt me a first AstraZeneca, and now I'm looking for a game that has a second AstraZeneca.
Does Canada allow others besides?
Yeah. Most people waited and got a Moderna or a Pfizer.
Oh.
But I got mine before they changed their mind, and now I'm stuck in no man's land, and I might have to get 3 of a kind to finish the game.
Oh,
sweet.
I may have to get a pair of Pfizer's or a pair of Moderna's because I couldn't get a pair of Astra's. Honestly, it's really like vaccination casino here.
Oh,
You're going to be the one to watch when they turn on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, for sure. But I've got a cure for it. I have protection.
What do you live in a Faraday cage?
No, yeah.
That's
Well,
what he's
look,
doing.
can
There you
you
go.
see? Can you see me on screen?
There you go.
I have a protective dome. So when,
Great.
Pyramid.
Smart.
It's a pyramid.
yeah, when Bill Gates tries to transmit from my brain from the microchip that he injected in me with the AstraZeneca, I just put on my blocking pyramid and he can't get my data.
We
See,
actually think
brilliant invention. This way,
One step ahead.
yeah, you got to keep thinking one step ahead. Otherwise, the family compact that owns us will take advantage. So you got to think for yourself.
They say the best defense is a good offense. You got any offensive plan?
No, I'm not into that. I just want to get my second pair of AstraZeneca and then I'll calm down for a while. I want to see if it knocks me out for a day or two or whatever it does. They say it doesn't do much. The first dose is usually worse. But with the Moderna, the second dose is worse. But who knows? So are you fishing out there, Mike?
Not today, but I do fish. I don't know. I'm being kind of lazy. I just made my coffee and walked out here to chat with you guys. But I might fish a little later. We're expecting a busy weekend, this holiday weekend. So there probably won't be much room for fishing once everybody gets down here.
Oh, really? Yeah, I never thought of that. So what's the situation? You got about 40% of Floridians that don't want to get vaccinated?
I think that sounds about right. As far as the people I know, it's probably I probably know of about 10% of people I'm affiliated with that are hesitant, that haven't gotten it yet. But most people I know have gotten it. So we're vaccinated, fully vaccinated.
They've gotten it because they've been pressured by their family members.
Yeah. The thing is, the best you can do is draw suspicion and, suspicion, but none of us are going to live forever. We're all going to die and, 100 years would be a good run. So, keeping that in perspective, what, are we terminating our lineage through this, or are we, going to meet an untimely death ourselves? What do we know is true, and what do we just have a strong hunch for? I don't know. I don't know where I stand on, what I believe, but I went ahead and did it just based on my wife's immune compromised, and I was trying to make sure that we created the best environment we could come up with for ourselves.
Yeah, that sounds sensible. Of course, you're never sure 100%, but you have to do what you got to do. I just like to get a pair. That's all. Any pair. I just don't want to go for 3 of a kind because the odds are much harder.
Do you go outside or do you go to public places, Vinci? Or
Not yet. Not yet.
Wow, you're stuck enclosed in your.
Well, but by law, we're not supposed to until June the 3rd or June the 7th or whatever. Yeah, everything's locked down.
Wow, it's really bad in Canada. In Toronto, the whole city's locked down?
Yeah, till June the 3rd, I believe.
Wow. So you can't go to restaurants, or you could, or what?
No, just takeout. You can get takeout at restaurants. And I went to get my eyeglass prescription, and it was like going into a concentration camp shower. You had to disinfect your hands. They only had 3 people in the eyeglass place at one time. They had to be masked, sitting apart. If you touched a pair of frames, they had to sanitize it before they put it back on the rack. It was quite a little production.
But then that's helping to reduce the spreading, I suppose.
Yeah, it's working. The spreading's down from, I think, 4,000 reports a day to something like 1,300 now. So it's around the level it was at the beginning of all this, and they're trying to get it down further, but we don't know. Everybody gets immunity. Some of them get it like you, Jairo, by getting COVID. And some of us get it through a vaccine, or at least that's the theory. But it could be something more sinister on a worldwide basis, where Count Dracula is sucking out all our blood and putting microchips in. Nobody knows for sure, but I'm going with a second dose of AstraZeneca if I can find it. And if I can't find it, I don't know what I'm going to do. I may have to go for a 3 of a kind.
And if you never find it, then will the first dose be disqualified for waiting too long?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that's the question. I think that's really the question, because I asked my pharmacist and he's not giving out the vaccines at his pharmacy. And he said he's not even venturing an opinion. So there's somebody who knows the science. And he says the whole thing is so murky that I said, but you know, Tom, I'd listen to you. He says, that's why I don't give you an opinion, because I don't have the right answer and I don't want to mislead anybody. And I know people are going to listen to me. So I don't want to be telling them something that's wrong. That's why I respect his opinion. But he was the one that asked your very question. He said, if you don't get the AstraZeneca and you do get something else, does that mean you have to get a third one for the second one of the your second dose to match your primary immunization dose? And what effect is that going to have? It's still being studied scientifically.
So we're guinea pigs.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And we're not even in Florida. I don't know what's going to happen this winter. A lot of people are really anxious to open the border, but I'm not so sure. I mean, we have vaccine hesitancy here in Canada, but it's not as high as in the US. And the people that, can be carriers, asymptomatic carriers, they can breed variants that are immune to the vaccinations. Lots of fun and games in the vaccine arena.
So if Bill Gates has a chip in us, what's he using it for? To track us or to listen to our thoughts? So if he's listening to our thoughts, then we should think opposite of what we usually think. That'll fool him.
But I don't know what I usually think.
Jewel in Toronto.
Who's
Welcome,
Jewel?
Jewel in Toronto. Now the Canadians are beating us. Oh no, we're in trouble.
Hi, Jewel.
Outnumbering us.
Who's
Welcome,
Jewel?
Jewel.
I don't think I've ever met her or him.
You've never met Jewel. Hi, Jewel. It's a friend of mine, actually.
Oh, good.
Wow.
I thought Bill Gates's goal was population reduction. So I think more than hearing what you think, it would be more about just ending you, right?
Oh, with
not necessarily, Mike. The elites, the ones that are pushing a lot of this, it's about population reduction. So I'll give you an example. When the United Nations mandated China, 1 child per family, that was United Nations. That's
we can
population.
lose our sexual desires, and that would reduce the population, wouldn't
Yes, well, this is the whole idea. Like Joel touched on it every so often when he said he wasn't sure why they're doing it. The whole gender thing, women getting together and guys getting to that they can't reproduce when they're together. So that's population reduction.
Maybe we're all going to turn gay.
No, not necessarily. But the thing is, when you have women being forced or mandated or told to do birth control. That's population reduction. In Canada, I think it's 1.6 children for every 2 people. That's population reduction. They want to go from, say, we should be at 12 billion, but right now we're only at 7 billion. They want to bring it down to maybe, say, 1 or 2 billion because we have technology now. So what they're trying to do, and they did this already in Africa when they vaccinated all the Africans there were a lot of the vaccines were sterilizers. So the second and third rounds will probably be sterilizer, so you can't reproduce.
Sterilized.
Yes, yeah, you could be not the first round, maybe the second or third round. Like I said, this is chemical warfare. It's not about killing people. It's just slowly. Now, if you don't value the concept of reincarnation like most of them do, then you don't realize you're going to come back again, and this is what you reap is what you sow. So until people realize that, then they're figuring, well, then why the heck are you here only one time? Why
come back as a soul?
It could be, but like let's say I come back. Why don't I come back and I'm a billionaire or a trillionaire? Bill Gates is this public wealth. Hold on, Joe. There was a reason. There was a reason why Bill Gates was in court for so many years, is because they were lining him up. No different what they're doing to Zuckerberg. He's the next in line. Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, they all come from certain family lineage. And they're there to represent the military, because America, with all their different presidents, they've had the same military in place for the last 40 or 50 years. So that's a dictatorship.
So the presidents are just to keep us distracted. So we vote for someone that's our ruler.
That's why it's called popular vote. Your votes don't count. Damn, even the electrical votes don't really count.
What?
So, they got a really good population control measure going on here. I don't know if that's globally, but where they start trying to introduce ideas to your kids that they don't know what gender they are, and then they can come in with a knife and disable their genitalia.
Oh.
They can, and if the parents try to get in the way, the parents can be arrested for harming their children.
Oh.
They can, and you're right, Mike, because when people don't realize, when you sign off that birth certificate, you don't realize you signed yourself over to the state. That's why children could be taken away from the parents at any moment. People just don't understand that. And then they get military, which is another forming of brainwashing, same with police officers and all that. Because the elites call the military throughout the world their dogs. That's why they put in America, they put the two, the little IDs on them. That's his inventory.
Okay.
That's all that is. Yeah, that's all that is. So, you probably know this, where back in the days when they had Vietnam War, they could have ended that war in a day, but they didn't. They lost a lot of American lives. Why? Because they were doing a shift. They were using that as the distraction for the old removing of the gold reserve. I mean, the gold standard to American federal notes standard. Those are all distractions.
Welcome, Jewel in Toronto. Oh, goodbye, Jewel. I scared her away, or him away.
That's her.
It was her.
The Americans winning again?
You're winning.
Sweet.
That was easy.
Hi. There's a fake Jairo there somewhere. One of these two are fake.
See, I find that interesting because I know Ju, and I know she likes to be more upkeep or upbeat or whatever. But how does a society become informed if they can't get past their likes and dislikes? This is where we have to be very non-biased when we're taking this information. I don't know the complete situation. If I was an elitist, it'd be business as usual. You know what I mean? It'd be like, I'm a trillionaire. Why would I give a damn whether or not we lose 3 or 4 million people? People have this ideal that the rich can understand the poor, let alone the poor understand the rich. It's a tough maneuver to go around. It'd be like Mike being in military, and all of a sudden he has to go to some other nation, and you got to protect. Well, how can you protect your nation when you're in somebody else's land? That's the whole defend and attack game, where really in that case, that particular country is invading another country. Now, they might turn around and say, yeah, but they blew up our Twin Towers. I'm like, so you're going to get revenge and you're going to devastate a whole country just because of one little incident? Sounds like a bunch of children fighting each other. And most wars, if not all wars, are based on most people that go to them are underdeveloped emotionally. I got to fight for my country. I got to kill because my mate just got killed. Well, it's a perpetual karma over and over again. So that means somewhere along the line, the parents have failed the children, and now the children's become an adult, and they do the same thing. Because actually, to bear arms tells you right then and there that you're going to incur karma, whether you're protecting yourself or you're fleeing. Now, if you flee from somebody else, you're protecting yourself and them. That's a non-selfish act. But most people that take the vaccine is very selfish. It's about me. I'm going to die. No, that's a given. The right of life is death. You exist in both of them. Now, I don't know what life is, let alone do I know what death is. I know I'm in a realm. I know I see things outside, but I don't see the language I see outside. I don't see thoughts. I don't see emotions. I express them. So now when people don't realize that kind of stuff, then what they do is they live this constant struggle of survival. I got to survive. I got to survive. I got to leave nature. No, nature just means untamed and wild. Laws means land, air, water, and space. So what we call laws are policies. We have many policies throughout the world. They're not laws, they're policies. When you go to court, those aren't about justice. It's commerce court. So when a judge is there, he's getting in his ear, if these 12 innocent people try this man guilty, do you want to send him to the gas chamber? I mean, sorry, when you euthanize him, or do you want to bring him into prison? Why? Because there's people that are actually making billions of dollars off of the results. And until people become aware of that kind of stuff, they have no business making a choice. If you're not aware of what a virus is or isn't, let alone a vaccine is or isn't, you shouldn't be taking the vaccine at all until you know otherwise. So the people that are telling other people to take the vaccine when they don't got a fucking clue what they're doing are being moronic. Now, are they doing it selfishly? Yes. It's all about me. I want to be protected, but you now can be carriers. They only need a couple of 100 million people that have vaccines to be carriers, and then the virus is truly now officially out. Before then, when have we ever shut the economy down for anything? If it was Ebola, it would be different. You would send military to that particular village and they would quarantine them until they all died. So now what we've been doing is playing this moronic game, getting all excited. I got to make sure I get my Cabbage Patch doll because they're holding it back. Joel's waiting aimlessly to go to, because he's going to feel reassured that if he gets his vaccine, but not understanding what a vaccine. Talk to a doctor. Is he a chemist? Probably not.
Wait a minute. Do I need a Cabbage Patch doll?
Yes, you do, Joel.
Holy
two of them. But you have to wait. They're going to hold them back.
I'm trying to get a vaccine and I really need a Cabbage Patch doll?
At least you have a good sense. At least you have a good sense of humor.
Tell me this.
No, it's not me.
Tell me this.
It's because I'm not the media.
For the wrong thing, I've been going to drugstores and I should be searching out toy stores.
Well, it's Christmas season.
You guys are not my friends.
Toys R Us.
You should have told me this a long time ago.
You got to go to Toys R Us. And now in Canada, they're offering free ice cream if parents send their kids to get vaccines. Wow, burgers, vaccines. Wow, really? The fucking shit that they're playing with us.
Do I get an ice cream with the Cabbage Patch doll too?
Preferably Kawartha ice cream. It has a lot of dairy. It has a lot of what you call it. Yeah, dairy.
Real cream.
It's real cream. Gotta have that.
That's a famous brand up here in Canada called Kawartha Farms or something, or Kawartha Lakes. It's a local ice cream. Like you have, I think, Royal ice cream in Florida.
Yeah.
You have the Royal ice cream parlors. It makes really good ice cream. So now I'm really confused. I got my first dose of AstraZeneca, but they didn't give me my Cabbage Patch doll or my ice cream or my burger. So I got shortchanged. And I got that at a Rexall pharmacy. I'm never going to Rexall again. They ran out of Cabbage Patch dolls.
At least you weren't looking for a gender-specific potato head.
That's later on, Mike. That's later on to get the rest of everybody else, including me. I'll probably get mine when I get that offer.
A gender-specific potato head. Oh my God, how will my Cabbage Patch doll mate with my ice cream?
Joel, you're not holding out. See,
we'll get a hybrid. We'll get a potato head ice cream. This is getting to be too difficult, guys. I'm gonna have to go and cry in my Kawartha ice cream Cabbage Patch vaccine.
You know, just to tie it back into the worthlessness of capital, in America, we're giving out $1 million to people who get vaccines.
Yeah.
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 I didn't get anything.
You too soon. You didn't hold out.
You got
Yeah.
cured, Jairo. You got the best thing of all. You got immunity from having a naturally occurring infection that you survived, and you got 2 doses of something. You got a pair of, what did you get? Did you get Pfizer's or did you get Moderna? You had a pair of Moderna?
Pfizer.
Fizzer. Oh, so you got a pair of Pfizer and an infection that you survived. You got like a full house, man.
Yeah, the purple flag or the purple ribbon or whatever. That's what you're
I
gonna
was
get.
trying to hold out, but my family said no. You will not stay in the house
Yeah, for sure.
unless you get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Right after my mother got vaccinated, I had to get vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
My mother's
Did you
99
get a
years old.
Cabbage Patch doll?
I didn't get anything. They didn't offer donuts or anything. Just
Not even a donut? Oh man, you really got gypped.
Got gypped, buddy.
I put it on Zoom and Domenic saw me getting vaccinated. Well,
Yep, I was there.
The phone shut down on me though. He didn't.
Did it hurt? Did you cry?
No, he is, because he didn't get an ice cream. He's crying because he knows now he didn't get anything. He didn't get like any treats.
I was sore the next day. Oh, I got it on this side, and then the next one I got it on that side.
But if you had a dolly, you could have hugged it.
Well,
I have a friend that had the Moderna, and she was sore and rashy and itchy for a week or so.
Yeah. That's a known side effect for some people among the Modernas. But if she had a Cabbage Patch doll with it, that might have comforted her.
It would have.
That would qualify as a service animal. You could take the doll, and rub it on your rash. Unless it was a genital rash, and then it would have to be a potato head, gender non-specific doll.
Where do you go with that, Joe? Where do you go in your mind for that one? That's a good one. I like that one.
I don't know. Maybe I'm conflating diverse ideas here, guys. Do you think I might have it mixed up?
I think you're bang on.
Rami is in the house.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
Rami is in the house. For the first
Rami!
time
Yay!
Hey, Rami.
2 or 3 months. Or he was.
Yeah, we missed you, Rami.
I've just been taking some time off meetups and Zoom for a while. It's necessary.
Well done. You did some fasting. You did some fasting from Zoomy. Well done, Rami.
Zoom fasting.
Yes.
Anyway, it's nice. It's nice to hear your voice anyway, even if you don't stay long because we're addictive.
We're winning the U.S. versus Canada. There's 3 or 4 of us in the U.S. and there's 2 in Canada.
Yeah, they're outnumbering us. They're
Joe
going to
was
try to
in here for
refight
a
the
while.
War of 1812. They're coming to burn the Parliament buildings.
Well, I thought we were doing that. I thought we were going to do that this weekend, Joel.
I don't know. No, Memorial Day weekend wouldn't be a good weekend to try. There's too many people out and about.
And Rami, have you had your first vaccine yet, or you're holding off as long as you can?
That's a HIPAA violation there, Jairo.
Oh.
So that's
well done, Rami.
That's a private conversation. Well done. Okay.
That's right. Well done.
Oh.
Bravo. A HIPAA violation. That's a well thought out response.
So Rami, what would you like to talk about?
Oh, he's dead.
I'm actually talking with my wife right now, so I'll have to come back to you guys in a little bit.
Bye.
All right.
Lisa's not here.
Oh, Jay, it's kind of your Zoom, and I've mentioned before any particular topic you want to talk, and we'll go with it. Obviously, you brought up the vaccine. If you want to, move it to something else, please. I know yesterday you were talking to me about things like about recall, if you want to get a
I
topic.
recall that we were over Messenger. Recall. It's so what is recall? What is memory? What is remembering? As
I forget.
as I recall,
I forget.
like when we recall something that we did yesterday, do we remember it in detail? No. We just know vaguely what we did yesterday. And what about when we were in the military 20 or 30, wow, 30, 40 years ago? Wow. Mike and I were in the military. How long ago was that? That was in 1990s? Or
Yeah,
89,
89, I think we
89,
met.
90? Wow, that's 90. Wow, that's like 30 years
30,
ago.
30 years, man. So you guys have known each other for 30 years?
Wow.
Yeah.
We were reunited recently through Zoom and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes, I recall Nigro as a military guy with me. Yes, it was wonderful. Oh, I went to a Robert Plant concert with another friend of ours, and I was trying to recall. And there, I saw Brooke Shields. She was in the area because she was going to entertain the troops with Bob Hope. Wow. I recall that she had dark sunglasses. It was inside. And she had a sweatsuit. Maybe she had gone to the gym and she wore dark sunglasses so that people wouldn't recognize her. But I could tell it was her from her eyebrows. What do you think, Joel? How far back can you recall or remember things?
I can go back to my grade 2 teacher.
To your what?
My grade 2 teacher.
Second grade teacher?
Yeah. And she was also my first grade teacher. Her name,
were you a bad boy? Did she spank you?
No, I don't think so. She was a nice lady, Miss Henderson.
Wow.
She was a gray-haired lady, and she taught me how to write with my right hand.
With your right hand? Were you
Yeah.
left-handed?
I don't know, because I had an older brother who taught me how to write with my left hand before I got to school. And when she saw me writing with me, because he was left-handed, and she saw me writing with my left hand, and she
slapped you.
No, she just persuaded me, but she was very insistent. And now I write with my right hand. Was that child abuse?
It's altering, Joel, because people that are usually left-handed using the right hemisphere. So when they used to do the old, it sounds like they didn't do that to you. They just try to persuade you. They're just following a program. That's how you alter. The fact that you use both hands, my wife does is she can write with both hands, and what she writes with different hands gives different impressions. So you're ambidextrous. Maybe that's why you use both your hemispheres, where some people, when they only write with their right hand, they only engage their left hemisphere. So they're very logical, opposed to people that are left-handed are very creative. It's always good to be both, like try to have a balance. I know it's an ongoing struggle, but balance in a sense, kind of like a sine wave. Every so often you go up and down, but most people kind of live only one way or the other. So hands up in the air. Are you guys getting arrested or for?
No, we're shifting from our right hands to our left.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So you had said, I've always looked at the idea recall and memory could be different. So to have memories of a past occurrence is one thing, but even you can call it a recall. But what about the process? I don't know if Jay, you want to go in that direction. What gives us that ability to have a recall, opposed to it's one of its results? I remember when I had a grade 2 teacher, or I remember when I was a kid. But what stores, like, where's that stored in the vessel, if at all?
I have a little USB port.
You probably do, Joel. Probably many of them.
Right here. It's hidden by my hair. I stick in my USB stick, and that's where I store it.
Okay.
It's a big one. It's a 64 gig.
What do you store there? Sporting stuff only, or
no.
logical stuff?
I don't. I go with Vinci board game strategies.
Okay. I know you're teasing me. I know you're teasing, but literally, let's use the computer analogy for that. We literally could have sticks, memory sticks throughout our bodies. I'm going to the premise that we have 12 receivers, so I can't see why not there would be many different places to place it. So you're having it, as you point to your right side, that you have it stored.
But why 12 receivers? Is that for the apostles?
Because we're the 13th part. It's like a clock. Clock has 12 numbers, but there's a middle piece. This is why 13 is actually the more conducive number. Now, if you add up 13, 1 and 3 is 4. That's time. So, but that's another story.
Why is 13 considered bad luck?
But I'm confused. How do I get my Cabbage Patch doll then?
Oh, now we got back there. Well, go into your chip. Store it in there. Go to Toys R Us in Canada.
Yeah.
You got to go online. You got to get a bracelet because you got to wait in line. And then you also have to get another bracelet so that you don't need a mask. You can just wear a face shield. And then you're going to have to get go on another online site. I think you have to go to Home Depot. And then at that point, they're going to give you the thread and needle and the stuffing, and then you can make your own Cabbage Patch. That's by far more superior.
But when I go online, they say they don't have any AstraZeneca vaccines available.
Because you're not typing in the promo number Cabbage Patch.
Oh, damn it. Now I got to go back to the drugstores. Now I got the secret code. I can get my vaccine.
Not secret. It's not secret. That's why I'm here.
I haven't heard about it till just now, so somebody wasn't publicizing it.
Okay, hold on. We're Canadians. When you look at Prime Minister Trudeau, don't you think of Cabbage Patch?
I never look at him.
Too good looking. He's too good looking.
I've never been in eyesight of him.
He's too good looking.
The closest I get is a computer representation.
Oh, that's true. That's a valid statement there. Yes. Yeah, that's true. That could be a bot. You never know. That could be a clone. Maybe he's a reptilian if we're going to get technical now.
Sounds like you guys have been stuffed indoors for too long.
I think so.
I
think so.
Rami?
I think so, Rami.
What do you think, Rami? Where do we store our memories? And what are they like? Are they like images or like summaries of what happened? And every time we recall them, we're changing them, aren't we? We're making things up. That's why
Yes,
witnesses.
they are malleable. It's all been proven.
They're what?
Yes, they're malleable. That's all been
Malleable.
proven.
Malleable. What do you think, Vinci?
I'm looking up AstraZeneca and Cabbage Patch dolls. But none of them have any vaccines available. You know what? I'd even pass on the Cabbage Patch. Give it to some kid this time. Just give me the vaccine.
Where's Mike?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
what
still
happened?
here. I'm packing my chair up. I'm gonna go back up towards the house, and I had to put it in the pocket of my chair. So you guys are probably seeing darkness right now.
Finally.
When
Now
we
I have
talk
reasons.
about like our convictions are influenced by our core fears,
Right.
and so some of this stuff is based on our best findings, I guess. But ultimately, some of our conclusions are influenced by our core fears. And everybody has a little different core fears. So like, I'm just, thinking about the vaccines. I know, Dominic, you have really strong convictions about what that is.
No, I
And
don't.
I think about like,
I don't.
I think about like polio. Like, how did we eradicate polio? And was that the first step towards brainwashing a society, or did vaccines actually serve a purpose at that time?
They did serve a purpose. There are good vaccines out there.
Mhm.
So who decides which ones are good and which ones are bad? And what evidence do we have to support that claim?
Each
Well,
body
it's-
does. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
It is about the evidence.
And how do you gain evidence without a trial, right? A period of exposure? Or can you discern the total outcome just through theoretical lab studies?
Well, that's part of the trouble here. Is a lot of the outcomes have already been predetermined.
Mhm.
So that's
So
why.
you think that we're
some people are-
sophisticated enough to determine the outcome in its totality without ever stepping into the real world,
Absolutely.
the
not.
real world application?
Absolutely not.
So if we're that sophisticated, why would we have any problems at all?
Well, the illusion of us being sophisticated is the problem, or for any particular person. That's the issue.
If we have the technology to determine the ultimate outcomes of things that are established in theory, aren't we saying we're that sophisticated?
That's the point. We don't.
Mm.
It's an illusion.
Oh, I thought we just said we did.
Valid point, Rami. It is an illusion. It's a play, and that's usually in the mind. So you're talking. Okay, first of all, my conviction is information. It's not about whether or not the vaccine can or cannot work, because there's many other factors. And me to say that people have to understand what a virus is or isn't, no different what a vaccine is. You also have to understand how your vessel works. So we're all different. We have variations of blood types. We also have variations of environments that we're in. So when they test certain viruses on vaccines on certain viruses, you have to know the host, in this case the body, and most of them are tested on people that are healthy. When you take blood out of a person and you put it in a petri dish, it's already changed its components. So now they're doing, like when they do weather report, 40% of the time it's going to rain under these conditions. They're playing a guessing game. It's like a baseball player hitting 3 out of 10 times. It's not a really good average, but in that particular sport, because we put value to it, how would you understand if somebody hit the ball 9 out of every 10 times? He would throw everything out of the loop. So when I tell people, for me, I already know why I'm going to take the vaccine. And it's not for health reasons. It's for commerce. Because I know they're going to attach this to a lot of other things. And that's just the reset program, where they don't need any more birth certificates, passports and all that, because we have new technology. We just forget that kind of stuff. So when it comes to understanding what a virus can and cannot do for you is important. But if you don't know the old concept of know thyself, who's the self and who's the knower and who's the observer of both, that might be a little bit extent for some people here, but it's out there anyway. That's what information is. But if you go into a position, in a biased position, that I don't want to die, without understanding what death is or isn't, then you're going to be very biased. We have too many likes and dislikes. And this is why we can't be biased. And this is why when people philosophize, unless they're going to strip or put aside their biases, views, their conditionings, they're going to have a very difficult time looking at nature and realizing I don't actually see the language when I look at nature. I don't see words. I only see a linear object throughout the world. Thoughts don't exist here. That's why karma is on the physical action. That's why we have many words with the word action. The illusion part, the play, is all in the mental and emotional part. If a person doesn't question reason and their patterns, habits, they're never going to know that the emotion's been pulling both of them for a long time. And this is why we keep coming back over and over again, whether or not people value the concept of rebirth, again, birth, again, member. So when you were telling me earlier, Mike, I'm more than okay with taking the vaccine. I'll be pissed off at humanity, because we're not at least inquiring it for the people that say, listen, I'm a questioning person. I'm not strictly designed to be obedient or disobedient. I want to question my existence in life, let alone death. If I met a whole bunch of aliens tomorrow, and I'm not talking about aliens of Americans or Canadians coming to another country, that's their terminology, where I'm seeing another species, I would have a lot of questions to ask to find out whether or not did you create us? Did you form us? Am I coming back again? Am I going to come as a sequoia tree? So like I said, I'm a kind of person, I like to ponder things, and literally, I'm usually using the word ponder.
I need someone with 4 tries.
Domenic, why is commerce more important than your vessel?
No, my vessel, I've already unfortunately harmed it a long time ago. So I would have to be consistent. Like for me, eating too much sugar, not going to sleep, I already know that I would be a hypocrite if all of a sudden now one particular crisis is going to change it. But I do realize I live in the masses. We've never worked collectively, Rami, as a species. So for me to say otherwise, I'm not an island by myself. I'm interdependent with humanity. And I know most people, whether they know it or not, they're not doing this for health reasons, because if that was the case, then most of us would still be farmers. Most of us would understand how to look at the land and say, listen, the moon's, it's out there today. So I have to plant certain things. So
in London,
Hi.
Justin, since Canada is part of England, then the Canadians with the UKians are winning.
UKians.
2 Canadian and 1 English.
Winning. What are we winning? Oh,
nothing. Hi, Justin.
So if I understand what you're saying, Domenic, you're saying because you've made certain decisions in the past, that means you can't change your mind or make any new decisions in the future?
Rami, my wife actually is very, very well diverse in health and all that kind of stuff. I've been born under the sign of health, Virgo. So she does fermenting, all that. I know my habits, my patterns. Can I change them once I become aware? Yes, I can. But when it comes down to a choice of health or commerce, for me, I know for me, health is my responsibility, not some vaccine. So how many vaccines a person would have to take before they realize health is their responsibility? It's my vessel, my kingdom. Yes, and I have many parasites. I have many kingdoms inside of me. So for me, I've made a clear-cut decision. For me, I'm posing the fact that you're just asking me a question, because to me, I already know my decision out of the 2. If I had another decision, I would be of no interest to take the vaccine. But I realize the herd mentality it's already been around us for a long time. So forget about herd immunity. Herd mentality is already kicked in. If I worked in a construction site and everybody else says, listen, Domenic, are you going to wear safety boots? Am I wearing it for health reasons or for commerce, for economic reasons? Probably for economics. Because really, if I'm concerned about my body, then it's not about commerce. But I know more times than not, there's the boundaries that we have. It's like I don't need man-made laws to realize I have an inner guidance. If I go away from it, so I've gone on too much. Sorry, Rami.
If you had already known immune deficiency issue, does that mean that would affect your decision, or would you still go along with this commerce position?
It would still be commerce. Because obviously my outcomes, my body being in disease mode, a lot of it, our disease that we think goes in disease mode has nothing to do with this, the physical, has to do with all the other energies around us. Like we've introduced radio frequency, electricity, we're going to introduce Wi-Fi at a stronger input and all that. That actually puts our vessels in disease mode, because we're not just a vessel. We're beyond all of that. We're the mental state. We're the emotional state. Most of us never get developed in the first 0 to 7, 7 to 14, and 14. Those are all 14 to 21. This is all esoteric stuff. So for me, I realize I live in a physical realm. I live in it, meaning my vessel lives in it, but I actually live within this. So if I had to make a decision, well, my health, when I do it, as I go through a drive-through or I eat certain foods or I eat late at night, and when I do fast, I only do that for a rebooting process because I feel overweight. So it's not really about health then, is it? So then I know more times than not what's been distracting me from doing all of this, or what do I settle with? Commerce, chasing money, getting my needs fulfilled, getting my wants fulfilled. So for me, it's a clear-cut, simple question for me and result. So for me to think otherwise is like taking vitamins. Vitamins there to take for temporary. Eventually, you're going to have to let your plant be your medicine. But most people think for some reason they're going to eat meat, which just means food. Where we got the concept of killing an animal or how we kill an animal, that's one thing. I'm okay if somebody wants to eat meat. Just be the honorable person and put me to sleep first before you eat me and start nibbling me away. I could give two shit about the vessel once I'm no longer in it. So my decision is a very simple one, but I'm knowing that I already know my decision. So my question is for most people, when you're doing it, are you making it because that's what you want to do? Or is it because the media or your parents are pressuring you this? Well, then you've given up your sovereign being then.
There might be some middle ground.
It could be. Could be,
because
Justin.
the way that I make my own choices is not totally independent of like sources around me, whether that's friends or cultural things or research or something.
No, we're very interdependent. Like for me, again,
Yeah.
Rami, to elaborate, if I want to go to the grocery store and all of a sudden they put because, really, we live in a premise that we have birth certificate, driver's license. If they decide to put all that on a phone, which is great, you got to look at it from the simplistic part of it. I'm no longer want to go back into the day where I get rid of my cell phone and now I got to carry a flashlight, a calculator. That's humanity always leaning towards comforts. Most of us do not grow our crops. So it's the few that are fueling for the masses. So really, when you're going into a grocery store or warehouse and you're pushing a cart and playing with their money, guess who you're a bitch to? They own you. Now, they don't own who you truly are, your essence, but they own the vessel. So now for me, if I want to go to a grocery store and they say I need to have a vaccine, guess what I'm doing? I'm having a vaccine. If I want to go into a grocery store and they say, listen, Domenic, you have to either wear a mask or a visor, I will wear a visor because I'm considering another human being, regardless if they agree or disagree. But there's policy is when I'm doing commerce, and that's why I'm in that grocery store. Anybody that thinks otherwise are being very childlike.
Are you being smart, Domenic, for yourself and for your community by taking this stance?
Sorry, say that again, Rami. Sorry, go ahead, Rami. Say that again.
Are you being smart for yourself, for your family, for your community by taking this stance?
I'm my own sovereign being, and I'm always living within myself. Am I being clever to a certain point? Yes. Most people that are smart never go towards being wise. But am I being wise for my own self? To a certain point, yes. But am I being clever for humanity? It's a one-to-one basis. Everybody's their own individual person, and I value the concept. Once a person reaches a certain age, they should have their own comprehension ability. But unfortunately, most of us want to have governments over us. They want somebody else to rule over them, and that's their choice, and that's fine. I realize I'm in this realm. It doesn't mean I have to always participate the way everybody else does, and vice versa.
So these people that are working your words over you, are they in it because they love you, or are they in it because they love their idea of having that sort of power?
I don't know if the word love comes into that particular equation, but they're doing it more times than most people are reacting. Whether or not they have the ability to respond, that's another issue all by itself. That's when we kick in with critical thinking and a developed emotion. Most people never obtain critical thinking, let alone develop their emotions. So, the whole idea of love, unconditional, in a conditional realm, that's a challenging one. You would have to almost be the observer. You would have to go beyond the self, the ego, and let alone the one that functions your body when you go to sleep. Because the ego doesn't function in your body. It only does that when it's on a waking state. Because if that's the case, then you can move blood from one part of your body to another. It's a vessel that we're in, Rami.
Wouldn't you say that the ego is functioning while we're dreaming?
Sure, you can intermix them. It'll be like saying your onboard program is functioning with your back program, but you can shut them both down with electricity. That even opens up another question. We're just a walking stage.
Or in dreamless sleep, I guess. In dreamless sleep, I would agree that the ego is not functioning.
It could be. It could be. We could ponder the possibility the dream state is actually what we might classify as the real state, and the waking state is maybe the unreal state. Everything's a possibility.
Like the butterfly.
What do you mean by the butterfly?
Oh, was it some old philosopher? Was it some old Greek guy or some old guy? He said something like that he had a dream he was a butterfly. Then he woke up or something, but he wasn't sure if he was a human waking up into life as a butterfly from a dream of being human, or vice versa. Something like that. It was quite a nice.
I always question why people don't dream about being on a redwood tree or sequoia tree. Those are the two best trees to be if you want to meditate for a long periods of time. They live quite a bit and they stand still. So, but there's usually a lot of dream interpretation when you make those associations to a butterfly or a spider. You know what I mean? I don't get caught up when another person says something, and if they do, it's for their own personal gain. I don't give a damn about who Socrates or Kant is or isn't. It's their teachings that's of value, and then even that you have to apply it to yourself. If it brings value to you, whoever you are, then you're going to either share that externally or you're going to keep that internally. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need man-made laws to dictate whether or not you should be kind to another human being. That's an inner guidance. And if anything else, you should treat others better than yourself so we can elevate the next generation. Vice versa.
Don't you think that laws though can be useful? Because I know some people who, if there were not laws to stop some of their behaviors, then they would be behaving in ways that are very detrimental to myself and others.
You're talking about policies right now, Justin. Laws just means that's the alphabet soup for land, air, water, and space. They have their own boundaries.
Am I taking a different meaning?
Just like when people say nature's law. Nature's untamed. It's wild.
Oh, yeah. No, I had a disagreement with my physics teacher when I was about 13 or something. He was talking about these laws of physics and so on. And as far as I could understand from what he was actually teaching us, they weren't laws at all. They were what I would rather define as observations. You observe that there's a pattern and that it keeps happening. But when you call it a law, it's like, and then they have these exceptions to the laws or something. Well, if there's any exception, it's not a law, it's an observation. It's a wrong terminology.
Or we're the observer of those. Like, for example, land has its own boundaries, air has its own boundaries, water has its own boundaries, space has its own boundaries. What we call time is actually not time. A clock, a watch, the sun and the moon, those are gauges. That's not time. So, but this is, again, you have to tap into the unknown realm, the spiritual realm, where thoughts and emotions reside. You don't see that. Back in the old days when they used to speak the language of a spirit of good and evil. Good and evil just meant spiritual and material. It's the ego that, that's never been truly conditioned or at least trained somewhat with awareness, that you have to be very non-biased and say, okay, so why is it material? Why is it an evil world? A material world. You come here to have an experience in the material world, but you're constantly experiencing things in the spiritual world. When you describe something like a piece of paper or a blue piece of paper and call it whatever, you're not seeing the word paper. You're seeing the object, the material. And no different if you look at your hands. You're not seeing the word hand, you're seeing the object. That's why when you see the alchemy of steel, you don't see the alchemy of language. You see the material. That's all you see. Always. That's all you see with your five senses. Actually, you have many senses, but the five senses are what they are. So this realm is a commerce realm. You got to pay to be born and you got to pay to die. That's commerce. Now you could change commerce to money to bartering. I'm going to barter my existence to come here for a while. I want to trade something with you. For you, Justin, an example. You're going to raise grape. You're going to work with nature. You're going to barter with nature to grow grapes. I'm going to do apples, and then we're going to exchange back and forth, because I don't want to spend all my energy trying to study, the nature and the moon to actually grow apples. But I'm going to appreciate you, consider you, that I trust you enough that you're going to do your part. I'm going to do my part. So I'm exchanging my energy for your energy.
Yeah, in a way, and maybe this applies to all self-organizing systems. There's always you always have to input into the system, to maintain it at this state, what they call this state far from equilibrium. Yeah, there has to be this constant input of energy. So you got to get it from somewhere.
No, we live in a polarity realm, negative and positive, and the part that completes the triangle, the grounding aspect. This is where people forget that, I just want to be positive. I said, why do you want to give up the negative energy, the feminine aspect, the wisdom part, let alone the positive aspect, the masculine part, the father part. But then there's the child, earth, ground. We're grounding. They call it Mother Nature, but not really. That's why they have a lot of the old pictures or statues of a woman holding a baby. That's wisdom and knowledge. That's all that is. But until people become aware for themselves, they're not going to know what their decisions are. So back to a roundabout way to Rami, I already know my choices. They're very limiting, even though I have many choices. And free is just one of them. So if the rest of the world are being conduced to play with federal notes or chasing down money or whatever, sorry, it's the same ideal, money, or in this case, a vaccine, ultimately, I'm going to go with what the masses do. That's just what happens. Whether or not I agree or disagree, but I'm still allowed to be informed. I'm allowed to have information, and this a lot of people only get information so they can actually go towards one of their biased decisions. I don't want to take the
that's
vaccine.
so true.
You know, or I want to take the vaccine. You know, that's kind of like going to a child, and one child says dad tells him to put his hand on the stove, so he obedient does it. Then the other child is disobedient. But what about the third child that comes in there and starts asking questions? Why do you want me to put it on or don't? That's the child. Now go in your own little room and pray. You know,
it's also possible though that two people could both be free from bias and try to make a decision about vaccines based on information, and they could both gather information and they could both come to opposite conclusions.
Oh, that's almost a given, Justin. That's going to be a different conclusion, because that's under the premise that we can all think the same, which we don't.
Sure. So we don't necessarily. It's maybe it's easier to come to a view than it is to know with certainty that that view is the correct or maybe we could say the appropriate view.
And there is appropriate, but then that's a one-to-one basis. You know, the COVID is only under the premise that most people already have a belief system.
Well, when I say appropriate, I don't just mean I'm not sure what you mean by one-to-one basis, but I mean within the context. Well, for example, a vaccine, we might consider the context of the community that we're in, for example. But again, yes, certainty is no easy thing to come to.
No, it isn't. And yet, that's where people try to control their environment, or they let the environment control them, opposed to trust your environment, meaning that when it presents itself, hopefully you have the trust in that you can bear whatever comes to you. That's what trust really is. Trust.
Well, vaccines is one of the things that comes to us, though. So we can actually apply your argument to, well, I could trust my environment and then take the vaccine. The logic could be applied to either direction.
I'm already leaning towards commerce. The reason why, because I already know they're going to roll out UBI. They're going to roll up a digital currency. They're going to roll out a one world religion. So that's all commerce. So for people to think, well, I finally got the vaccine, so now I'm okay, I can go back to usual. No, things are going to change. This is a 10-year plan, whether people are aware of this or not. You know. So if people think for some reason it's like wars. Wars aren't just about America fighting another country. You know, there's a lot of agendas attached to it. So they might turn around and say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to get rid of a social system, because capitalists do not like a social system. It's a pathetic system to them. The only reason why it works in Canada and other countries is because they're printing money.
Socialist system, do you mean?
A social system does not work for a capitalist.
What do you mean by social system? Do you mean like about socialism or
socialism?
Of course, the right wing has social systems, but not socialist systems, maybe.
Well, okay, for example, communism would probably work a little better for a capitalist than a social system. And the way I'm talking about social system is you work for a corporation. They got to be accountable for you to pay you a pension, or the government has to pay you a pension. Oh,
right, that's what you mean. Yeah. Like socialism. Socialism is fundamentally good. Well, depending on what kind of socialism, but
okay, it is good as a collective. But when the few that are capitalists, it's not good for them.
Yeah, capitalism and socialism are kind of opposed to each other.
No. Capitalism it's like a virus within the system, because it doesn't help the masses. It helps the few. Yeah. Now,
exactly,
a communist system for humanity, I can't even say humanity. Communism in its purest form could work, but why it doesn't work is because of human factor. Democracy will never work.
But socialism works. Like the countries that are the most advanced in the world, like in Scandinavia, for example, are socialist.
Yeah, but
they're not communists. I'm not sure in America how these terms are understood, but
you're talking, Justin, from a social system, from a very small community. In a global system, you might as well throw socialism out the door. It doesn't work, because you're always going to have intruders. In this case, a capitalist who comes in and says, listen, I'm going to make as much money as I can, or I'm going to capitalize on people. Your parents are going to work for me. Once you retire, or whatever you want to call it, you're no more use, your kids are going to take over. But in a social system, how it works is, especially in Canada, they print it for future generations to be born into debt. So from an economic point of view, it doesn't work. As a whole, Individually, yes, it always does
But
work.
can
It's
you
like
have socialism and capitalism? I mean, Scandinavia, it has capitalism, but it's regulated. So they have, socialist systems of healthcare and education and so on. But
and
of
how are
course,
they paying for it? How are they paying for it? Future generation.
Taxation.
No. You see, that's where you're being misled, Justin, at this point. When you own a house, that land that you pay tax on it, those goes to corporations. That does not go. The government just collects it. It never goes back.
Well, let's
to the
say
people.
in Sweden, for example, they have quite a high tax
Yes.
relative to the UK.
Yes.
But I think the money does go. Who knows? Yeah, some of it goes to places I have no idea about, but some of it does go to the health system, the education system, so on. I mean, they don't get their money from nowhere.
Well, that's the shell game they're playing. When governments say words like "we're passing a law," they're literally doing what they're doing. They're passing a law. They're not creating it. Governments are just there to be like administration. That's all they are. There's elite.
You mean administration, like for the corporations?
Yes. Very
Certainly,
much so.
it's very much like that in the UK and the US.
Throughout
but
the world.
I think, if you look at some places like Iceland, I think you find something that comes much more close to what we might call democracy, which is rather absent in the UK and US, it seems.
Well, the thing is, you got to look at Iceland too. What natural resources do they have that the elites would even think that's even of value? People used to.
That helps. Yeah, that helps. If you've got oil, then you're an immediate victim of American terrorism.
You got England, that basically the Queen Corporation owns all the land. She owns all the land in America too. Very few people have allodial rights, and even that's just something above a deed. Saudi Arabians are at least lucky; they actually own the land, so they can take away anything that comes from the ground or above it. So if me and you had a piece of land, Justin, and we have a deed to it, and we found that there's oil underneath it, they're going to offer us money for the house. We don't get the oil. And if we turn around and
take it,
or they'll be clever and say, listen, no problem. You want to stay on that land? No problem. You can stay as long as you want. But once we start bringing trucks in to get oil, they say, you see all those streets, so you got to bring all that oil. We're going to start charging you $1,000 per kilometer. So this is now all of this to me is a game, meaning that nobody really should own land. But we're here. So we're here now. So our forefathers or their forefathers have played this game. So in America, like I tell people all the time, Germany won the war. It wasn't America won the war. Germany won the war. Back in the old days, they used to have England winning wars over Britain. Britain winning the wars over France. And so listen, France, you keep waving your flags, but we won the war. And then what we'll do is we'll do commerce. We'll have pirate flags. So that's what they do here today. That's why we have the Queen of England's German. We had the Pope that was, even when the Polish Pope was there, he was German. Now they threw in a Jesuit just for pure giggles and kicks. You know what I mean? And I
don't think the English are any better than the Germans, to be honest. Look at Hitler. Sorry, not Hitler. Similar but different. Churchill, I meant. One of the most admired politicians by our current government. And
what was his club association?
I don't know, but he was a mass murderer. He committed
that's the thing, Justin,
horrible atrocities. Millions and millions of people in Bengal killed by famine through his work.
But this is the thing, Justin, you have
radical
to know,
racists and so on. Yeah,
you have to know their club association. Stalin, Hitler, Roosevelt, they were all members of a club. And the only reason the war was set up was two reasons. A, they were reuniting, or they were making up a man-made nation called Israel. And the Rothschilds were asking for all their Jewish friends to come back. And when they say, no, we're having it comfortable, because remember, think about it, after the first war, why is it a certain race of people can basically go without sanctions and they can live in Germany and make all kinds of money? That's how it was. So when they said no, they basically rounded all them up. And at the same time, the Tsar's family wanted nothing to do with the United Nations plan because they had their own gig. So what they did during that war, they got rid of all the Jews that didn't want to come back to Israel, and they got rid of 30 million Tsar's family. So now you tell me, ponder this for a second, is war really what it is, or what they tell us what it is?
War is very rarely what the governments tell us what it is.
Well, of course.
Personally, I wouldn't deny the horrific atrocities that were put upon the Jews, and I think that they were genuine victims. However, Israelis, Israel is a horrific, racist, terrorist state. So it's very ironic.
The Zionists are.
Yeah. Certainly not the Jews as a people, but Israelis as a people pretty much. Of course, there are some very nice Israelis, but as a nation, they're a
Well,
terrorist nation.
that's a made nation. First of all, when I tell a Jew back in the biblical time just meant gypsy. Now, I would tell somebody, I said, are you from the last two tribes that are remaining? Are you a tribe of Benjamin or Judah? You know, when somebody says he's an Israelite, I said, you got to be very, very wary. We could all come from the tribes of Israel. But now when people talk about Jews, I said, those are just gypsies. So now this is where the game.
That's quite a different ethnic group, isn't it?
Yes, they were. They coexisted with the tribe of Israel back then. They would have been called merchants.
I thought they came from India originally, didn't they? The gypsies.
We roam everywhere.
They've got a different language.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. This is the whole order and chaos. It's a constant back and forth. You scatter people with all these denomination of language or religions and state, and then at the same time, not realizing naively their naivety is our bliss. They're not realizing we're always ruling over them. You know, they're not owners; they're rulers. So we have many rulers in the world. That's why we have landlords ruling land. When my buddies say that they're in the landlord business, I say, no, you're in the housing business.
What do you think, Vinci?
Right.
Sorry, I was waving at Jairo's mom.
What do you think, Vinci? Joe? What's your
Jairo, sorry, I was muted. Hello, Mama.
This is
Joel I thought Joel's gone. Is Joel there? I can't see Joel.
Yes.
Is your mother gonna try it? We had a tournament last night. I'd love to have her play.
I'm making her breakfast.
Oh, okay. Let me know. She will be the first person of her age to play without parental consent.
What do you think, Joel, about this conversation?
I have to tell you, I had my sound off and I was reading about the outbreak in China. Guangzhou, huge city in southern China, has now gotten the Indian variant of the virus. They shut down a big portion of the city. Doesn't look good. Which may mean that even if I have a Cabbage Patch doll, I might still get infected, and so might you.
Oh, there's Mike. He's walking. He's walking on a
Maybe he's
path.
cycling. Maybe he's cycling. It looks like cycling. Yeah.
I think he's on a bicycle.
He's going pretty fast. He must be bicycling.
He's clipping along.
We're getting a tour of his town in Panama City in Central Time Zone.
Panama.
Panama City
is that in
Florida.
Is that Central America or what?
No, it's in Florida. There's another Panama City in Florida.
Oh, I see. Looks
Beautiful
like lovely
Panama
weather.
City next to the beach.
Oh.
I was in Nottingham last week.
In England?
Yeah.
Really?
The storytellers of Nottingham meet once a month. So they have the
Where are you now? Are you in England now or are you in America?
No, I'm in Canada.
Oh, Canada. You flew to England just recently?
No.
I zoomed to England.
He zoomed to England.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, on Wednesday they had a gathering of the English storytellers.
Cool.
So a bunch of us came over, and then last weekend I was in Brighton Beach.
I see.
Yeah, the Toronto humanists had a joint meeting with the Brighton Beach humanists.
Cool.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. It's quite different to meet with people from all over. Well, even look at Jairo's group. It's gone from a local Florida to a global thing. We should call it Jairo's International Buddhist Morning Wake Up, or evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. And is Rami still here, or has he had to leave?
Rami is waiting waiting for a chance to talk about something. I don't know.
Oh, where is Rami? Is he still hearing us?
No, I think he's
No,
gone.
he didn't want to interrupt the conversation, so he stepped out,
Oh.
but he'll be back.
Ah.
I hope. The interesting conversation. It seems like it was going towards government systems like the socialisms in the Scandinavian countries versus socialism mixed with capitalism. I don't know. Is that possible? And
Yeah.
and some historical perspectives.
I don't
and
think I don't think
some,
anywhere in Europe we have socialism without capitalism.
and some perspectives on the situation in the Middle East. And what do you think, Joel? How do you understand what's happening in the Middle East or in the Israeli state? Being that you might have a different perspective, being that you're a Jewish ethnicity, maybe, I don't know. What do you?
Well, I think Qatar is a very important place, or as the English call it, Qatar.
Okay.
I've gone dead here.
I can hear
heard
you.
you.
I'm just wondering why you're talking about Qatar.
Well, Qatar maintains their army in Gaza. They have the militia that they hire in Gaza. So
they're quite wealthy, aren't they? Qatar? Don't they have oil?
Very wealthy, yeah.
Why would they bother going to Gaza to hire military? I doubt that they're very well equipped or trained in Gaza, are they? They're pretty poor in Gaza.
Well, they have a missile factory. I think they just fired 4,000 missiles, and they claim to have 6,000 more in reserve.
Sounds
They
very
actually
unusual.
manufacture them locally. At least that's the pictures I saw on television, but they may be false pictures. Maybe those were just fireworks from the American Independence Day.
What news channel was it?
Probably CNN, I would guess.
Oh, okay, might be true.
Or it might have been BBC even, but then it would lack all credibility.
It certainly makes sense when you're being terrorized by one of the most advanced armies in the world. It makes sense to send some missiles back, even
just
if they just get shot
4,000,
down.
just 4,000 or so.
They sent 4,000.
Yes, that's what the newspaper reported. I wasn't there.
Did you count how many Israel sent on them?
I think there were a couple dozen at specific targeted buildings.
Yeah, they've bombed. The Israelis have bombed a lot of
They tell them in
hospitals
advance that you must leave if you don't want to die.
Well, not always in advance. The Israelis are quite renowned for bombing hospitals and bombing journalist buildings and so on within
how do
the
they
occupied
become
territories.
renowned? Is that according to the BBC? They're renowned.
Well, renowned just means well known, doesn't it?
Well known by whom? I don't know it.
Well, then you're ignorant. I'm sorry, by definition.
Okay.
But it is very well.
Or you're mistaken. That's not possible though, because you're British.
No, well, I can be mistaken about a number of things, but
not about case, renowned. You can't be mistaken about renowned.
If you like, you could form a questionnaire and distribute it as widely as possible, and you could then attempt to confirm or disprove my claim that they are renowned for that.
And does that have you proven you're renowned? Did you circulate your questionnaire?
I could prove it. I could prove
okay, all right, yeah. Prove it.
Yeah. Well, I could prove it. I could find you, for example, the
renowned questionnaire. What was the renowned questionnaire?
News publications where the evidence for the bombing of hospitals and so on is given, and then I could check how many views there have been.
Well,
and by that we could get a definitive answer to at least
I believe it's
the minimum
renowned
number
that
of people who know these things. So,
the
it,
history of
Quite
British
simple.
anti-Semitism is very renowned, and
What's anti-Semitism got to do about this?
quite unacceptable for Jews to defend themselves.
You've just introduced a new concept to the conversation, anti-Semitism.
Yes.
How's this connected to what we're talking about?
Well, in Britain, it's not permitted for Jews to defend themselves. They must take 4,000 missiles
Defend themselves against
manufactured
what?
by factories funded by Qatar, and
So
do
you're
nothing.
saying in the United Kingdom, it's illegal
they
for
must
Jews
do
to defend
nothing.
themselves?
They must take 4,000 missiles manufactured in the Gaza by money supplied by Qatar, and it's terrible if they react. They must not react.
You made a claim, and I want to clarify whether I understood your claim. You're saying that in the United Kingdom, it is illegal for Jews to defend themselves. Was that your statement? Mr. Vinci. Hello? Dominic, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. I wonder about Mr. Vinci.
He might be doing some research. Maybe you might post something.
Who knows? He's fallen silent. Perhaps his computer's malfunctioning.
I don't think he's muted. I don't think he's muted.
Maybe his brain has seized. I'm not sure.
Hey, Justin, I don't know.
Can Jews react if countries fire missiles at them? Or can Israelis react, even if they're not Jews? Because the first people killed by the missiles were actually an Arab Palestinian and his daughter in their car.
Are you
And
consciously refusing to answer my question,
any
Mr. Vinci?
notice. Qataris did not send any notice that they were going to fire the missiles.
Are you consciously?
Or maybe the BBC got a report of it, but they didn't pass it on to Israel.
Mr. Vinci, are you consciously refusing to answer my question?
I'm not hearing what's going on here.
Did you hear my question to you?
No, I'm still looking for my vaccine.
Right. So I'll ask my question again.
Did you get your vaccine yet?
You made a statement.
Do all the Qataris get vaccinated?
Okay. I will leave this conversation if you continue
Okay,
in
I
this
think
manner.
that's a good idea because you forgot to notice that I had the game board on and you stayed on anyway.
I stayed on
It's
anyway.
Commercial. It's a commercial venture.
It is.
It is, and you can play the game if you have capacity.
Yes,
but the Qatar government has the missile
Domenic,
factory.
Jairo, it was lovely to hear you. And Mike, it was lovely to see your images. And I will leave now.
Oh, no, don't leave.
Yes.
Don't leave.
No, I cannot tolerate such intolerance and stubborn refusal to participate in civil conversation.
He doesn't know the question you were asking.
He does. So, Dominic, Jairo, lovely to see you. Goodbye.
He left. Oh, now let's cry. Well, what was the question that he asked? Yeah. Well, I'm almost done with breakfast. Let's see. I'm gonna flip it over. Oh, maybe I should have waited a little longer.
Justin, see if I think Soy, one of our other gentlemen, I think he's trying to get on. I don't know if do you see somebody trying to get on the Zoom?
Let's see. No.
Okay, well then he hasn't come on yet. Then. Okay. No problem.
Let's see. So, what have we learned today?
Some people just don't enjoy hearing variations of conversations, or they already have a pre-deemed value to only certain types of conversation. So it's kind of hit and miss. You know, like not everybody's going to go to the opera, whether they're doing it, and if they do, hey, sweetie. And if they do, they usually do it for their loved ones. So,
hey, Jairo. I was muted this whole time. I was trying to talk and I couldn't see because the glare on my phone that I was muted. Oh boy. You still there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
The what is I'm sorry, who just dropped off? What was his name?
Justin.
Justin.
Justin. So what's his background? Because he made some pretty bold claims that I didn't think were necessarily justified. So what is his background? Where do you like claiming Israel as a terrorist state is pretty extreme language.
Justin's
without
in
backing that
London.
up.
In London.
Yeah. So what is his background that he would have that perspective?
I don't know.
I mean, you have to ignore a lot to come up with that perspective, and the like nations, I mean, like it or not, I believe that the Geneva Convention is the generally accepted set of rules for how military power will interact, and you can take offense to hospitals and schools and religious institutions being a casualty of war, but when you militarize or you associate military capabilities to those areas, you by default have accepted those as becoming military targets according to the Geneva Convention. So I don't think you can create outcry about military targets being subject to military conflict. The only way you could really make a case against that would be
Ismael.
Thank you for having me here. Hi guys.
Hi guys. Go ahead, Mike.
Where are you located, Ismael?
I'm located in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Wow. So we had Justin, and then he left. He's in London.
All right.
And now we have you to replace him.
Yeah, that's good.
So
That's good.
We have someone from Great Britain and two from Canada. Yay.
Yeah, that's good.
And there's how many from the US? Two. Even nicely distributed. So yes, Mike was talking about that Justin had a different perspective from the perspective of the Geneva Convention, or something like that, or something about how to properly carry out a war. I don't know.
Well, policies. If you want, if you don't mind, let Mike. I'm pretty sure Ismael will catch on what Mike's saying. Go ahead, Mike, please.
Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, I guess I was kind of finished just, proposing the perspective of, so I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names. Who was it that hung up just a minute ago? Justin. So Justin, made a statement that was basically terrorism. And I think that you have to ignore.
We lost him or what?
He froze.
I'm back. Are you there, Mike?
Justin was saying that Israel is like a terrorist state or something like that.
It could be. It could be. When you have a narrative already conditioning you, that you're going to do everything to justify it. It doesn't matter what end you're going from it. We all do it in our, well, I can say I do it myself too, where I have a certain value to something, whether it's a belief system or knowing of something, and then we try to cater to it, whether like Mike is tapping into it, to Geneva, they have their own agenda and they have their own narrative. So they're going to try to get a lot of people either to accept it, tolerate it, or allow it. Doesn't mean everybody in that situation or outside looking at it really values it or tolerates it or accepts it. It's like in America, they have interracial marriages. Doesn't mean everybody, just because they're doing it and everybody else just keeps quiet, or most people keep quiet, that means they're accepting it or allowing it. They might just be tolerating it. And same with people that are in those situations. So in the whole thing, because it's the latest scoop on the news, Palestine against Israel, which is another whole skip record. If they really want to solve that, they would have to, get the underbelly and realize who's been pulling them strings the whole time. That's the playing both sides game. So, but the people that are involved are the ones that are always suffering from it. So, Justin was probably looking for an answer to justify one of his narratives. No different. Somebody else on another perspective is trying to justify their own thing. But then we use words to glamorize it. We know this new word, so we'll say it. Those poor Palestinians. Well, really, we have ghettos in the States. We have ghettos in Edinburgh. We have ghettos in Canada. So if all of a sudden that became the headline news, and then have the media throughout the world that read all from the similar scripts, there's people that show that. Especially in America, people are literally reading the same story over and over, and from different places, but they make it look like they're from different media sources. So again, it's a narrative. We all have narratives going on. In this case, stories. And it all depends on your position. If we are all billionaires, we would have a position at looking at somebody else that's poor. How do I get more out of him? He doesn't have nothing to give anymore. Do we feel sorry for him? No, I feel sorry for myself. Why? Because I can't milk him anymore. And then there's a poor person that says, well, geez, how can I get more handouts or get more free stuff from him? Is it ever free? Rich people, we're talking about really rich people, have to do more work than we have to. We live very simple lives. And they pay, because they can print the money, to get people to mislead. I don't know if it's necessarily a deception. And if it is a deception, it's a deception one does on oneself first. So you can't convert somebody if they haven't already been converted themselves. So the whole ideal of the Palestinian, that's right up there with Black Lives Matter, or why is a hockey player not wearing a mask, or, should Europe have a world, their own league for all the elites? Well, it's business. If people understand it's all business. I had a conversation a couple months ago. There was a gentleman that really got upset because he's Portuguese and he really likes Ronaldo. And he says, Ronaldo should be playing for his nation. He shouldn't worry about money. I said, let me ask you something, because I didn't really know at the time, but I had a hunch. Are you allowed to bet on World Cup? He goes, well, yeah. I said, so why can't he fucking make money off of it? This is the hypocrisy of humanity. If people are allowed to kill, shouldn't we all be allowed to kill then? Works both. It should work all ways. Let's make it completely chaotic, and then hope and pray that order will come into being. Let's make it completely order. How would that look like? Chaos is easy to apply. Orders is very challenging, because who does the ordering then?
What do you think, Ismael? I think Ismael is an interesting name. It's kind of Judaic, maybe, or maybe it's Semitic.
Yes.
Ismael is there was Abraham. He had a kid, Isaac, and then first Ismael and then Isaac, right? And Ismael went on to bring about the Arab people, right? Something like that.
Yeah. First thing first, Jairo, and everybody, thank you for having me here today. With the question of name, I don't get bothered about this, what has happened in the past, my friend. I know my parents gave me, and I'm happy being called Ismael, and that's it. I don't know the history, bro. Neither am I interested. If you guys talking about the whole Israel and Palestinian conflict, I don't want to see none of them as nationalities, because as long as I'm going to name them a certain way, I'll always take sides. Whenever people of either sides die, I feel equally sad. And I don't buy this narrative of one nation dying and the other nation killing, because as long as I follow this narrative, I'm always going to take sides. I feel sad either ways, whosoever dies. And I've not gotten into the history. I don't know. I don't want to talk a lot about this situation, because I don't know, man. Because if you sit with Israelis, I've sat with them. They've got a different narrative. They say what's happening. They told me that in 1940s and 50s they've been attacked 4 corners by Arab countries, and they're taking it back at Arabs. When I sat with Arabs, they've got a different narrative. I'm an Indian sitting in Edinburgh. I feel for whosoever is dying, man. That's what I would say. I don't know, man. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Very, very wise, Ismael.
Thank you.
Ismael, do you mind if I ask what your religious Indian cultural heritage is?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I don't mind at all. Well, I was raised in a Muslim family. Do I identify myself as a stringent Muslim? No, I don't. I'm not sure as how I identify myself with. I think someone who's trying to question things and try to learn. Of course, still I would be called as a Muslim, but I don't know what kind of Muslim. I don't know. Probably someone who's questioning everything, who's trying to go there ahead and question every sort of belief system. Well, as long as culture is talked about, I am definitely influenced by the multicultural layer which you find in India, which is a mix of Hinduism and Christianity and Muslim. So I've taken elements from a lot of those things. Religion is Islam, but I'm not a practicing person, so I don't know who I am at the end of the day. A seeker, probably.
Very nice. Well, it's good to have your perspective. Anyway, guys, I have to go to the Futurists meeting in Minnesota, and my plane is leaving shortly.
Hey, before you go, I want to know a little bit about that game.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to play with you. We can have a game online. We had a tournament last night. Ismael, you would be the first person from Scotland to play if you want to have a game.
Yeah, that would be nice. But I would need lots of instructions. Never played that before.
No, it's easy. No one in Scotland has ever played it. You'll be the first person in Scotland.
Can you describe
My pleasure.
it? What is it?
Ismael is in Scotland. Mike is in Florida.
What's the game like? I mean, what can you describe the game?
It's a strategic thinking game. It's very easy to learn.